Welcome to the Grow Your Business for Good show. This is a place where coaches and consultants gather so you can learn how to lead a world-class business that does not tax your time, your energy, or your financial resources. We are your hosts, M. Shannon Hernandez
and Amy Hager of the Joyful Business Revolution. And our number one goal is to bring you clarity and insight on how to grow your business for good. Before we jump into today's episode, we want to invite you to join us in the Content Personality Club. In this club, we help coaches and consultants attract your perfect fit clients. Here's what we know. When you tweak and enhance your messaging, or maybe even overhaul it, your business is going to get a whole lot better.
If you are experiencing any of these specific problems in your business, we want to help you. Number one, you publish content via email or social media, but it doesn't consistently convert to new clients, nor does it have the fire, flair, and feel you desire. Number two, if you're spending lots of time launching and reworking your offer, but you don't have the number of clients you think you should based on all of your hard work. Or number three, you have spent money on ads and or copywriters in the past, but none of it worked like they said it would.
Then we've got great news for you. Join us in the club where you'll learn how to leverage your content personality to create magnetic messaging. Because when your messaging is working, it does 90% of the heavy lifting for you. Visit www.contentpersonalityclub.com to join now. In today's episode, we're going to dive into the fourth content type of your messaging ecosystem. Now, remember, there's 6 content types total, and then when they're working for you in harmony, they're going to do the heavy lifting for your marketing and selling. And so we are diving into mission-driven content today. And this type of content is content that really helps build that community and share your vision for a better world. And so take out a pencil or a pen or a marker and write down this question. Have you fully developed a mission, vision, and purpose statement for your coaching business? Have you fully developed a mission, vision, and purpose statement for your coaching business? If you have, that's awesome. And we want to help you use that in your messaging. That is part of the foundation for creating your messaging. If you haven't, no worries. You're not alone. And you may feel like these terms are like completely interchangeable, and just thinking about them actually makes you swim or even makes you want to drown. So today we're going to dive into the difference between the mission, the vision, and the purpose statement for your business, and why it's important and how each of them are going to help you grow your business and your community for good.
Yes. I am so on fire for this, Amy. I know it's like, whoa, Shannon came back from Switzerland and she's on fire. I don't have all the answers yet, but what we do know here is that at the Joyful Business Revolution, we have fully developed our purpose, mission, and vision statement. And I'm going to share each of those for this brand. And then we're going to have a fun, unscripted, candid conversation about ways that you can go about with your vision statement and build and grow an aligned community. Because if I've learned anything over the last 10 years of being a business owner, none of us do this alone. None of us. And the more we think, oh, I got this, oh, I can do this, oh, I'm a great individual, the faster you're going to crash and burn, because it really does take a community to help grow a mission, to share the vision, to get people involved in the community. And so we've been exploring some really big questions in the Joyful Business Revolution of how do we transition into a more community-centric business? How do we transition into more community initiatives? And so after I go over the purpose, vision, and mission statements and what those are and how you can go about developing your own, Amy and I are just going to kind of have some fun brainstorming. Who knows, you might see some of this come to you via our Facebook group or via our our newsletter list, wherever it is that you keep in contact with us, right? So there's a lot of, how do I want to say this? The purpose, vision, and mission, if you Googled it, there are 52 definitions that all cross-reference one another, and it's super confusing.
So true.
And this year I said, I'm doing something about this shit for my own brand and for this community. And we actually came out and we taught mission statements and margaritas. And we taught a beautiful class around the difference between a purpose, a vision, and a mission. And then we just decided this is what we're going to use in this community. If other communities use a different format, it's okay, but at least all of us here will be speaking the same language. All right. So if you've been confused by this, rest assured you're not the only one. All right. But let's really talk about the different pieces. They're each a statement. They each answer a different question, and they're important for different reasons. All right. So Amy, the purpose statement answers the question of
our big why.
Yeah, why do we get up and do this work every single day? Why? Right? Why? All right. So the statement has to answer the question why. So in this brand, our purpose, our why statement, if you will, is joyful coaches with profitable businesses change families, communities, and legacies. All right. Now I'm going to just kind of do a side note here for a moment. This used to say joyful women with profitable businesses change families, communities, and legacies. Many of you may know my spouse and I have been through a huge transition in the last few years where she has transitioned to my wife. And this has really brought to the forefront a lot of questions in our everyday lives about gender and the role gender plays and the role that gender is portrayed and the way that we segment and separate people based on gender when we may not even realize it. And one of the things I did is I came back from Switzerland just this week and I changed this word from joyful women to joyful coaches. And so you'll see for our community and where we're going to take this community, I'm not so concerned about only women anymore. In fact, I have actually come out on the podcast that my spouse and I put out called the Transliteration Podcast that shares our journey of transition as non-binary. And this is a real change for how I'm viewing the world, what I think about is happening in the world in terms of gender, and how I really am sick of labels at the end of the day. And I really just want to be a joyful person in a world helping other people. I don't care about their gender. Yeah. Right. So Amy, I didn't know that was going to come out, but do you have anything to say about that?
Well, and I think too, the one thing when we talk about people getting clear on who their ideal client is and what their ideal client is and why they're ideal, there are a lot of factors that come into play for that. And it's going to be different for every business. And here's the beautiful thing. Your business is like a human. It's going to grow and change. And as it grows and change, as you grow and change. So I think it's a great journey to be on. And I do see that like, as we've been shifting, we do work with men and we work with men really well. We work with women really well.
And we work with people who consider themselves non-binary and don't want to be attached to a gender label. Right.
And so who do we really work with when we boiled it down at the end of the day? They're all coaches.
Yeah. Feels so good. It's like our next iteration of doing good in the world. Right. So your purpose statement is the why. And this is really what you and your team are going to come back to when things are hard and you're like, oh God, why am I doing this? Like I should just like crawl under a rock. Well, why do we do this? Because we believe joyful coaches with profitable businesses change families, change communities, and change legacies, right? And that's been the story of both Amy and I, and also our clients that we help with their businesses. They're able to create a better environment for their family. They're able to do the things in the communities because they have time, they have money, they have energy, they have resources, and therefore they are changing legacies. This is our big why. This is our purpose. All right, let's go on to the next one. The next statement you'll want to develop as part of your magnetic messaging, if you will, and your messaging ecosystem is your vision statement. Amy, the vision statement answers the question of
public facing buy-in is really what you're going for with your vision statement. People can actually get behind this. They can say, I want to be a part of this movement. So part of the buy-in, the public facing that you're really going to go out with.
Yeah, and it really is about the how. So if we say, we'll go back one, our purpose is joyful coaches with profitable business change families. What's the how? What's our vision? What are we asking people in our community to get behind? Well, we believe that when you grow your business for good, you have the opportunity to evoke change on a global scale, right? And so this is super cool because we realize the more that we niche down and the more we talk about people growing their business for good, being profitable, taking care of their mental health, taking care of their family, taking care of their physical health, taking care of their spiritual health, everything is wrapped up in it. And when you grow your business for good, you can evoke change on a global scale. And it goes with the age-old saying, you cannot pour or serve from an empty cup.
Right.
And if you're a coach or a consultant and you're running a business that is not paying you, or you're run ragged into the ground because you're doing all the damn TikToks and the Instagram reels and the Facebook reels, and your mental capacity is completely shot,
It's not there.
you can't go change the world, even if you wanted to, not even your own little world.
Right.
Right? So the vision is the statement that is public facing, right? And so really when you're thinking about messaging for your brand, you want to be thinking about how can I get the vision and the purpose aligned and get people on board with it? Because here's the other thing, and Amy can expand on this in a moment. There are going to be people who are not for you. If they don't even resonate with joyful or evoking change on a global scale, or what does it mean to grow your business for good, we actually don't want them in our community. And this is something that we have to talk about a lot, especially as we're brainstorming community building and ways to build community, is there are people who are not going to fit here anymore. And we're okay with that. Amy, what do you want to say about repelling people with great messaging?
I love it. And it's such a time saver. You know, as the person who does all of our sales conversations in this brand, when I was getting people in front of us who weren't ideal clients, what a waste of time. And my time is valuable. So is the other person's across from me. And so if we weren't repelling people and just people are like, oh, I kind of want in on that. I want to check this out. This seems, you've got to repel. You absolutely have to repel. And when you can repel people, you know you've made it.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, we don't want to repel because we're mean. We're actually very kind here. We subscribe to kind communication and kind marketing, but there's a saying, vanilla content, right? It's kind of like vanilla sex. I mean, let's be real, right? Vanilla content is just content that it's just it's boring,
right?
It's limp. It's just like nobody's paying attention. All right. So we move people to exciting content, and with excitement, you're going to find people and you're going to lose people, and you got to be okay with that. Right. All right. The third thing, which is really what people think the mission is, would be what you put out public facing, but we call that the vision here. And we just had to systematize because the messaging on the internet is so wonky. So we just decided to stick with one thing here and help our people. All right. But the mission answers the question of the what. What are we going to do in our business plan to find the joyful coaches, to grow the business for good, and to help people evoke change, right? So this is internal use only. It's only for your team. Okay. Now I'm going to share it with you because we're all about being real here. All right. So our mission statement for internal use that we use to guide every decision in this brand. Okay, we wrote it. It should be about a 3-year mission statement. All right. So what are you growing into becomes the question. Our mission statement says within the next 3 years, we will grow the Joyful Business Revolution to a $1.5 million international, Canada, US, and Europe, consulting and training company specializing in organic, joy-based growth solutions for coaches and consultants. God, it just still feels good in my soul. Joy-based business growth solutions. Isn't that good, Amy?
I like it. Joy-based business growth solutions. Like, it kind of was a mouthful the first time that we really talked through it, but just like we say in our Confident Expert program or in our content club, really the more you speak it, the more you verbalize it, the more you converse about your messaging, the clearer it will get and the easier it comes to say.
Yeah. So we have this mission statement. We've got a team retreat coming up in August, and we'll post the mission statement and we'll say, okay, what's been working the last 6 months that we said we wanted to do in January, February. Let's check the progress. What are we letting go of? What are we doubling down on? But it's got to fit, right? So when a team member says, well, maybe it's time to start running the ads for the content personality quiz, I have to say, well, listen, in our mission statement, we agreed it was organic, joy-based business growth solutions. That does not bring me joy. That is not organic. We cannot do that right now based on this mission statement, right? And these are the conversations that we have. My team is also one who's going to say, Shannon, what's bringing you joy and what's not? And I say to them, this shit right here that I'm doing is not bringing me joy, and someone needs to help me figure it out. Amy hears that probably more than she wants to, right? But this is the mission. We're living it. We're living it inside the brand. We're putting all of our marketing strategy around the mission. We are not advertising in Asia and Australia and New Zealand. Well, we don't even advertise. All right. We are not putting messaging out that is reaching Asia, Australia, New Zealand, unless they just happen to find us, because we said our target is Canada, US, and Europe. And Amy, most of our clients, we have 2 clients in Europe and all the rest are Canada and US, right?
Yeah.
And we've turned other people away that aren't in those markets because Shannon and Amy ain't consulting at 6 a.m.
Yeah. And I know that, like, as a learner, as a student, you can't learn at 6 a.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever it was. And there was one time that I was talking to somebody from Australia, and I really loved her. She was amazing. She would have been a great client.
She was the perfume lady, right?
Yeah, I was always talking to her while she was in bed.
Yeah.
And I just like thought for a minute, I was like, I don't want to work with you because I don't want this for anybody. As much as we love each other and as much as we're getting along together, I just don't see this working well for her. And so I had to back away and let it go.
Yeah.
And, I think because we want to make sure that we're working with people when our energy is at the best, we want to work with them when their energy is at the best too.
Yeah. And coaching from your bed is probably not the best at 6 a.m.
No.
Right. All right. So that's just a quick overview of how to think through your mission, vision, and purpose statement. And now Amy and I are just going to have a discussion here, an open discussion, if you will, about how do we build community around the vision statement? Because the vision is really the public facing, the one that we want people to buy into or leave. Either one is fine, right? And so let us state that once again. We believe that when you grow your business for good, you have the opportunity to evoke change on a global scale, right? So Amy, when you read that, we've got different things that we kind of offer in this brand. We're always known, for education and training. That's the thing. Workshops could be called challenges when we run our famous workshop weeks once a quarter. Those are super fun. 2 things that we'll be meeting about with the team later this month is this idea of what's a community project and what would community events be that are centered around growing your business for good and evoking change on a global scale.
Mhm.
So let's just have we don't have anything scripted here, y'all, because we're still in this brainstorming phase of transitioning our community to more of a community-based initiative, right? Which is a big transition. But Amy, do you have any thoughts that come to mind about how are we engaging the community around evoking change and growing their business for good and doing good in the world?
So I think right now, and I think this is what we want to change from, is right now it feels like Shannon and I have to encourage or help or tell people to really engage here in this community, right? It's not coming to people that this is very much so viewed as mine and Shannon's playground. And you only get to come and play on the swings. We invite you to play on the swings. And that's not at all what we want. We want you to go play on the swings, go down the slide, play in the sand. I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want to do that brings you joy. And so I do think, because we see this in our smaller Facebook group with our clients, they're posting questions for each other. They're coming together to find solutions. It is a strong community there. And so we want to be able to bring that here on the larger scale, and really knowing that if there's a time that you're stuck, and entrepreneurship can be very, very alone, it can be scary. You can come to this group and post what's on your heart, post what's scaring you, post what you want to celebrate, and that's okay, because we want to do that with you.
Yeah. And for those of you listening on the podcast, we're specifically referring here to our Facebook group, where we gather our community, called Joyful Business Revolution for Coaches and Consultants. We do want the community to feel like they can post. They can initiate conversations. They can do these things. And I know why there's some fear around it. In a lot of groups, you can't do that. It is a one-way street. And a lot of people, honestly, Amy, I mean, we're just going to call it as we see it. We always say what is. There are many coaches and consultants who don't even know what questions to ask to post.
Right, exactly. And I think that was a huge conversation that we had in our Confident Expert program of, well, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. So it's an interesting conversation. It's an opportunity for Amy and I and our team to get together and say, okay, well, if people do want to post, they want to engage, they want to initiate, but they don't know how can we build something? Is that a challenge? Is it an event? Is it a project? How can we build something that bridges that gap so that people know, one, they know they can post, but two, they know what to post. They know what questions to ask, right? They know, they feel comfortable there. And so I did a big journaling exercise, Amy, yesterday. It was probably a good hour. And I asked myself a lot of questions, actually, from this book called The 7 Laws of Enough. Chapter 3 is about community. And it's, do you belong? Where do you belong? Why do you belong there? And there were some great questions in here that I spent a lot of time with yesterday in prep for our team retreat of, what do I consider my community? What does our current community look like? Who is in the community? Who is not a part of the community? Why haven't they found the community? Are we excluding people? This would be the woman thing that we said at the top of the hour, right? Why I've determined to change the language. Is this community enough? Does the community nourish Amy and I? Or do we feel like we're always giving to the community? That was an eye-opener question, Amy.
Yeah.
Right? And so these are not hard, easy questions to really answer. And Amy and I are truly community builders at heart. And what we want more than anything for our newsletter people, our podcast people, our Facebook people, our LinkedIn people, is to be able to say, that brand is smart and I have a question and I'm going to go ask people I trust.
Yeah.
Or business is really sucking right now and I don't know what to do and I'm at a loss. and I'm going to go to that community and I'm going to get some support.
Yeah.
And so these are the kinds of things that we're saying, what initiatives could we build around this? What kind of projects or events could we host? That's a lot.
It is. And it's still very much so. How do we think outside of the box of the event, the challenge, the initiative? Again, like Shannon and I are here rowing this boat. And how do we make it so it is more of the community coming together? And is it just, do we just hold the space? And then once we have everybody in front of us, we're like, what do we need to talk about today? What challenge are we trying to overcome? I don't know.
Yeah. And we'd love to hear from you all. If you're listening to the podcast, shoot us an email. amy@mshannonhernandez.com. We're in transition to our new email system within the next month, y'all. We're going to celebrate a rebrand, right? Post in our Facebook group.
Right.
Go watch and answer the questions. I really, like, I could get on a soapbox here. I don't know why people are in groups of any kind. I don't care if it's Facebook or anywhere else, if they're not going to fucking participate.
Yeah. If you're not going to ask questions and you're just going to sit there and watch and lurk and not actually participate, I question the time and the energy that you're investing. And I'm using some air quotes because, again, you're not necessarily asking questions or engaging. And so is it a big fucking distraction? Is that why you're there? We had this discussion today about the @everyone tag in Facebook groups that you can use now, at least when we're recording this episode on August 2nd at 3 p.m. And, it was a 50-50 split. Some people hate them. They're like, oh, now I'm getting all these notifications because everybody's @everyone tagging and I don't want all these notifications. And then other people are loving them and really leveraging them to get their following re-engaged. And I would say to those that are getting tagged and are like, oh, I hate that I'm getting all these notifications. That's a clear sign you should probably leave that group.
Leave the group.
You're not engaged.
When you're ready to engage, come back to the group. We're not saying you have to leave forever.
Yeah.
But now clearly there might be valid things going on in your life. Listen, when I was in the early stages of transition with Maria, I didn't have capacity for any extra shit. I just didn't. When my mom had a stroke, I had zero capacity. I'm not making it wrong if you leave a group,
right?
But have some damn boundaries. If you're in a group, be part of the community. If you're upset about the @everyone, ask, why am I upset about this? You might have a really great reason. You might say, I don't want to read their shit. Great, leave them. Right? And we say that with so much love. Like, as community builders, we say it with so much love. And I just told Amy right before we hit record on this podcast, I don't care if at the end of our community restructure, we've got 200 people in our Facebook group rather than 1.6 thousand. I want 200 people that want to be there. And they're giving and they're receiving and they're joyful and they're happy and they're living their best life and doing the best they can in business. And they are there intentionally and presently for a reason.
Right.
So there's all ways you can think about community, but none of it actually works unless you have a vision, a purpose, and your mission statement is helping you guide and make decisions to call in your people. And that's really the essence of this episode today, which we are going to wrap.
And so if you are excited about what you've heard, please leave us a review, drop a comment, drop what you're thinking. We would love to hear from you. And make sure you join us for our next episode on the Grow Your Business for Good podcast, because we're going to help you understand how to create thought leader content, which is educational in nature, but doesn't cause you to lose a sale. I'm going to say that again. Educational in nature, but doesn't cause you to lose the sale. A big mistake is we're sharing solutions instead of sharing mistakes. And we want to make sure that you're not losing the sale. So be sure to check in to our next episode. Thank you for listening to the Grow Your Business for Good podcast with your hosts, M. Shannon Hernandez and Amy Hager.
Head over to www.joyfulbusinessrevolution.com/quiz to take the content personality quiz and join our community. And remember our mantra, if it ain't joyful, we ain't doing that shit.
If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the show, leave a review, and spread the good news with other coaches and consultants.